before I start, I just want to say thank you to everybody that watches my content, especially my subscribers, and a particular thank you to the one who got me this t-shirt. I absolutely love it. And with that being said, let's get on with the video. Yeah, you know what? I do love this arcade classic from SEGA. And if you know by now, I have a particular soft spot for the game's developer responsible for a certain blue hedgehog. Yeah, just wait until the summer of Sonic this year, but anyway. As much as I love the Sega Mega Drive and its 16-bit goodness, as well as additional add-ons that followed it, we can't forget about the console that made that leap into the realm of 3D.
Neat.
And as you can guess, I'm talking about the SEGA Saturn, which at the time did go up against stiff competition, but more on that later. But for us to appreciate this underrated console, we have to take a trip back to the 90s. Now, in the era of in-your-face attitude, the world had been blessed with the Super Nintendo and the Sega Mega Drive, with what is often referred as the golden age of gaming. In this time, players were treated to some absolute classic video game titles, but eventually this period of 16-bit goodness would slowly come to an end. This is where 3D gaming systems would slowly start to make an appearance in the world of gaming, especially outside of the arcade, and in 1994 the world was introduced to the SEGA Saturn. The Saturn was the successor to the Sega Mega Drive and its additional add-ons, but it would face up against stiff competition in the form of the Sony PlayStation. But anyway, the Sega Saturn was a significant step forward for Sega, and it boasted some impressive hardware specifications for the time, allowing titles from the arcade to be perfectly ported over onto Sega's new home console. This meant that the Saturn itself was the perfect console for arcade gamers, especially those that enjoyed titles such as Sega Rally, Virtua Fighter, and even Daytona USA, such a classic, and one game that'll have a video in the future.
Nice.
Now the Saturn also had a unique feature that other consoles at the time lacked, and this was being region free. And despite facing tough competition from Sony and eventually Nintendo, the Sega Saturn managed to establish a dedicated following, which was largely due to its impressive library of games. Now speaking of that, I think we need to look at some of the popular titles for the Sega Saturn, and first up is Sonic R, which I do now own on PC thanks to a valued subscriber. I really do appreciate the donations, so thanks once again, Nathan. Sonic R was the first 3D Sonic game, and in this racing title, gamers got to play as the Blue Hedgehog and his friends, who would compete against one another in a variety of different tracks. Sonic R had an impressive soundtrack with some catchy tunes, especially one that's become iconic with Sonic fans. And all I can say is Super Sonic Racing lives rent-free in my head. Anyway, when it came to the Sega Saturn, it basically felt like a portable arcade machine, providing near-perfect ports of some classics. However, there have been many genres that will forever be associated with the arcade, and this couldn't be more true when it came to the fighting style of gaming. Now, as many of you know, I simply adore the Street Fighter 2 series, as well as Mortal Kombat and even Tekken. But when it comes to Virtua Fighter 2, I have a particular soft spot for this fantastic game. Regarded as one of the most popular fighting titles for the Sega Saturn, Virtua Fighter 2 was praised for its complex fighting mechanics and its roster of memorable characters, but it was the 3D visuals that made Virtua Fighter 2 stand out among the competition. I do remember seeing Virtua Fighter 2 for the very first time at my local arcade, and I was instantly impressed. But just imagine how I felt when I went round a friend's house who happened to own a Sega Saturn and I got to see Virtua Fighter 2 on the TV. As you can guess, my young mind was stunned. My friend and I played Virtua Fighter 2 for hours, comparing it to the likes of Mortal Kombat and even Street Fighter 2, trying to decide which one was better. Definitely a topic for another video. There were other fighting games on the Saturn, all of which proved popular with gamers. But there was another style of gameplay that was as equally as popular with players as the fighting genre. And one title that comes to mind that made its home within this genre was of course Panzer Dragoon.
Shut up and take my money!
Panzer Dragoon was massively popular and was known for a number of things, such as its immersive story, its unique art style, as well as the incredible soundtrack. And it's easy to see why Panzer Dragoon has become one of the most sought after games for the Saturn, especially now with avid fans of the series. Anyway, the Saturn itself would eventually be known for its impressive library of titles, cementing itself as a console with a diverse range of gaming experiences, and from here, a legacy would be born.
Oh yeah, it's all coming together.
And this legacy has continued to impress gamers over the years. But you can't talk about the Sega Saturn without mentioning a legendary title. Instantly recognisable with Sega fans, Nights into Dreams was a unique title that combined various elements of gameplay, ranging from platforming, racing, and even going all the way to shooting. Known for its vibrant visuals and its excellent soundtrack, Nights into Dreams has become legendary among Sega fans.
Indeed.
Now here's a question for everybody at home. Could Sega return to the world of gaming with a new console? Now, the answer is not as straightforward as one would think. Sure, there have been plenty of rumours and speculation about a new Sega console in the works, but with Sony, Microsoft and even Nintendo dominating the gaming scene, it would be challenging for Sega to even establish a foothold in this over-competitive playground. Yeah, Sega may never return to the world of gaming with a brand new console, but we might get mini versions of the Dreamcast and the beloved Saturn. Now that would be a dream come true.
You're goddamn right.
Anyway, come back next time where I take a look at a classic for the PlayStation, and a true odyssey indeed. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next game.